So, Professor Edenhofer, how is climate policy evolving on the way to Durban? What are the key issues to be addressed, and what do you expect from the next important appointment in Durban?
I perceive the current situation of international climate policy as a very difficult situation, and my feeling is that international climate policy is to a certain extent in a crisis, because Cancun was much better than Copenhagen, but most of the negotiators do not believe that we will have a binding agreement. From my point of view, we shouldn't not focus too much on binding agreements, so we should find a way also outside the UNFCCC, where we have bilateral cooperation, for example, between the US and China, or between Europe and China. And we should not wait until we have a binding agreement. We can do something before we have that. But nevertheless, it seems to me that anyway, we have to find a way to revitalize the international climate negotiations outside the UNFCCC framework.
Climate science is making progress, and the IPCC is working on its 5th assessment report. What can we expect from this report? Are there new streams of research that deserve more attention and are particularly promising in addressing the climate challenge?
Yes, the 5th assessment report will be a next step, and in this 5th assessment report, in particular in Working Group 3, we try to explore all the solutions, all the options we have at hand to deal with the climate change, ranging from mitigation to adaptation. And this requires a very strong relationship across the whole IPCC community and a strong cooperation between the working groups. In particular with Working Group 2, because Working Group 2 has the mandate to identify the different impacts between a 2-degree and a 3-degree world, a 3 and a 4-degree world. And at the same time, Working Group 3 has the mandate to explore the solution space. What kind of solutions do we need? What kind of policy instruments do we need to achieve a 2 or 3-degree target? And in particular, we're focusing on 2 new aspects. The first one is what is called publicly as geoengineering. But the other one is, it's a little bit more down to earth. It's about human settlement, infrastructure and transport, where we have also a strong focus on urban planning, which is also a new subject for the IPCC and which is quite promising.
The IPCC recently released the special report on renewables, showing that renewable resources can provide a relevant contribution in meeting future energy demands in a sustainable way, stabilizing climate. What are, in your view, the main challenges in the development of renewable technologies, both under the technological, economical, and political point of view?
Basically, I see 3 fundamental challenges. The first one is, so in the next few years, the costs of renewables has to be declined. So that's very fundamental due to technological progress, due to the fact that scientists and also the developer of new renewables made some progress, which in the end leads to declining costs. That's the first one. The second one is, in particular in Europe, we have to think about how to integrate renewables in a pre-existing fossil fuel dominated energy system. So we have also taken into account the integration costs, and careful analysis is required to come up with some new integration options, ranging from energy storage to demand management to expand the grid, even across Europe, to have a more integrated energy system in Europe. This is the second challenge. The third challenge is in order to deploy renewables at a reasonable level, we need a consistent and enabling policy framework, ranging from CO2 pricing to the subsidies, temporary subsidies for renewables, and this has to be implemented.
Climate finance is limited, so where do you believe investments in research and development and technological innovation should be directed to?
First of all, I would say the funds for a new and an adjusted R&D budget should come from carbon pricing, in particular in Europe from auctioning emission permits. So this is the first and the fundamental source. But also it's in the best interest of the finance ministers in Europe to invest in new energy sources, because it's not only the climate change issue, it's also the issue of energy security and also the issue of the comparative advantage of Europe on the world market, which requires a redesigned energy policy. So we cannot expect that we can rely on our current energy system, which is not reliable and not sustainable. And therefore, to have a new R&D strategy, which has a strong focus on renewables, on energy efficiency, on more advanced issues like more advanced nuclear power is necessary. Otherwise, I'm afraid that we cannot afford and we cannot provide the energy services we need in the future.
And you're fearing displacement of funds for adaptation versus mitigation?
I do not see that adaptation and mitigation are really substitutes, because there will be a remaining climate change to what people have to adapt anyway, even in a 2 degree, but people have to adapt, in a 3 degree, but people have to adapt to climate change. I do not see that adaptation and mitigation is really a substitute. They are partly and I would say overall a complement.
Thank you. I stop here. I would have many other questions, maybe.
Okay, are you happy with
policies,
that?
But I'm very happy with it.
Okay,
I
good.
hope you too.
Great. So thank you very much for your patience.
No, thank you to you for your availability, and I will see what use I can make of it, and I will let you know.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much.
See you later. I see you in the room. I'm coming.